It is
And
unbelievable what can be found with pretty minimal information. We have a client who's a private investigator, and she does like the skip tracing and going online to find people. She can literally find out anything about anybody just with a name. I'm Scott Hess, tax and business consultant.
I'm John Barton, small business owner. Remember the tortoise and the hare? Slow and steady wins the race.
We started Turtlesmith to help people start small businesses, providing information and resources to small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Build a solid foundation and forge your dreams.
This is always annoying to ask, but if you're liking this content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way for us to get more followers and more people engaged in this great business content. You can also follow us on all socials at TurtlesmithOK and find us at turtlesmith.com.
Please like and subscribe.
What's up, man? Back for another one. New set.
Yeah, looks like we got a little new setup here going on.
Yeah, Calvin's got us adjusted for season 2, trying something new.
All right.
Yeah. Well, what do you got for us, man?
A little thievery in business. Let's check it out.
My best friend betrayed me, so I took everything. I thought Emma was my ride or die. We had been best friends since college, sharing everything, secrets, struggles, and dreams. When I started my own business, she was right there cheering me on, or so I thought. I had worked for months on my business idea, a custom jewelry line inspired by vintage designs, something truly unique. I sketched every piece, sourced materials, and even built a small online following. Emma was my biggest supporter, or at least that's what she wanted me to believe. One day we were having coffee, and I casually mentioned the name I had chosen for my brand. Her eyes lit up. "That's genius," she said. I felt proud, thinking she was just impressed by my creativity. A week later, I was scrolling through Instagram when my heart stopped. Emma had launched her own jewelry line. Same concept, same designs, same exact name. I thought it was a joke. I clicked on her website. She had copied everything, even my tagline. My stomach twisted. I texted her, trying to keep my cool. "Hey, what's this? Did you start a jewelry business too?" Her reply, a casual, "Yeah, you inspired me. Hope you don't mind. Hope I don't mind." I was shaking with rage. I called her, demanding an explanation. She had the audacity to say, "It's not like you own the idea, right? Business is business." Oh, Emma. Sweet, stupid Emma. What she didn't know was that I had already filed a trademark for my brand name weeks before. Quietly, officially, legally. I went straight to my lawyer. Within days, she received a cease and desist letter. She couldn't use my brand name. She couldn't sell those designs. She couldn't make a single penny off my hard work. Emma tried to fight it, but the law was on my side. Her website? Shut down. Her Instagram? Deleted. And the best part? She had already invested thousands into stock and marketing. With no choice left, she had to buy the rights from me just to salvage anything. She ended up paying me more than I originally invested in my business. Now my brand is thriving, while she's drowning in debt. Funny how karma works, huh? What would you do if your best friend stole your idea? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
I'm not sure I buy the ending to that story.
I think the whole story was fake, but
Yeah.
there are situations where people do obviously steal other people's ideas. You know, the gist of that story is if you bring somebody in that you you're operating just on trust and you have no agreements, no NDAs, things like that.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of the legal stuff up front, then people can just take things.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
can really bite you in the ass.
It can, and people do that. You know, I don't believe that the other lady. I don't believe the story at all. But
It was a way too clean resolution.
Right. Let's assume that let's assume that it was true.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing that she would actually have there is the trademark.
Right.
And even at that, it would have been still could have been a fight because a trademark has two components to it. It's the filing of it and it's the use in commerce.
Right.
So you can't just buy a trademark and then sit on it. You can for a little while, but so the it's very doubtful, that they're a little jewelry business and she already had a lawyer and had all that and everything. And
yeah, very unlikely that she already had all that set up. And then the trademark itself is pretty costly. Like, it's not a cheap endeavor to go get a
yeah,
trademark.
especially if you do it through a lawyer, as we know. I mean, if you do it yourself, just the filing fee is like $1,700.
Yeah. Plus, you have to pay like per class, which is like there's a bunch of different classes that you have to protect yourself in. Which a class is just the type of business.
Right. It's about 435 classes, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I should tell this story, but I'll tell it in a clean way.
I don't believe you, but
I will tell it in a clean way.
All right.
This is a family podcast, as we've established many times.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
And I promise it doesn't involve any.
P. Diddy references.
It does. See, you said it. I was going to come up with a much more clever way to say that.
All
right. I was just going to say that it involves, the only liquid that it involves is cola.
Oh, okay.
Okay. See how easy it is to get it out of you?
It lived in your brain rent free, and now you've transferred it to me. So every time I see you, that's what I'm thinking of.
So I had a situation where I had partners in Germany with a brand that I developed and that I owned, and we had made a deal that I would give up my percentage of the business in Germany, and I would have the full distribution in America.
Yeah.
For the brand, and I had created the brand. It was my pool cue cases, and but I had trademarked the brand in the USA years before.
Yeah.
So that wasn't part of our partnership. It was only for Germany, for Europe.
Uh-huh.
And so what happened is that I promised them, I said, okay, if we split like this, you guys continue doing the production. I continue having creative control over how the cases are built. I promise you that I will increase the revenue. I'll increase your profitability. You guys won't have to do shows anymore. All the expenses that you normally have will be gone. I'll take all that on myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we ended up in a dispute. They couldn't deliver. I got a whole bunch of orders that they never had before, and then they couldn't deliver, and I lost face and lost money. Mm-hmm. And I was just trying to buy time to rebuild, right? Rebuild trust with all these dealers that I had acquired.
Right.
And they came over to a show and created a booth, right, to compete with me. So I was like, okay, I'll assert my trademark rights. So I did. And I, prevented them from coming over. Well, somewhere in there, they sent me a letter from a German lawyer. And they said, you have to abdicate your trademark because your website is accessible in Germany, and that's against German trademark law that people can access, And I was like, okay. So I sent them back a website that I made up, and it was full of porn stuff.
Oh, okay.
And for size reference, there was a Pepsi bottle.
Yeah.
And I said, there are about 435 categories of trademark that they can be registered in. So if you'd like, I can make a website that references these types of products with this brand on it. And the tagline was, when you really want to get screwed, get InStroke. Never heard from that lawyer again.
Yeah, that seems
apparently they did not want to pursue that.
Seems like a checkmate move there.
Yeah. It was pretty funny.
Before we move to the next one, I do have a little turtle tip for people who are thinking about starting your business. If you need to talk to anybody about it, lawyers or accountants, they can't say anything. Most of those time they have a fiduciary responsibility. But if you need to talk to friends or run the idea by people, you really should get a non-disclosure agreement. An NDA, you can get it online. But my biggest tip is just don't talk about it. Don't tell everybody what you're doing. Just do it. I've had so many people come in here with business ideas, or they find out what I do and they're like, oh, I have all these great ideas for business, and they love to talk about it, but it never happens. So if you want to start a business, just start it quietly, and then you'll have your use of the trademark, even if you didn't file it. You register your domain name and start using it and making sales. Then you can tell people about it. Then get the feedback. But be established before.
I say this often, I'm sure I've overused this, but I don't even, I should know just instantly who said it or who was supposed to have said it.
Mm-hmm.
But the phrase goes, there's nothing in the world is cheaper than a good idea with no action.
Yep.
And there have been lots of times I bubble over with ideas.
Oh, me too. Yeah. We talk about them all the time.
Right, we do. And when I'm having discussions online, I'm constantly talking about what if we did this, what if we did that, you know. My wife says I talk way too much about things that we do, how we do things, why we do things.
Yep. I would mildly agree with her.
Yeah. I'm sure you
But
would strongly agree with her.
I agree with everything she says. She's the boss.
Yeah, definitely. So I have definitely had things that I plan to do that I have mentioned online that I plan to do.
Yeah.
And then I have watched other people do it.
Yeah, just keep it to yourself.
You know?
All right, what's next?
How private is your personal information?
Probably not very.
Not much.
Oh, hi, can I help?
Hot chocolate.
What's the name?
Joelle.
What was the name?
Alex.
Alex. There you go, Johnny.
Cheers.
If you like our Facebook page, we give you a free hot drink and a free pastry.
We have a new like for Damien.
Standing by. Hi there, can I help?
Yeah, I just liked your Facebook page.
Okay, I'll search Facebook
I'm
now.
searching Google.
Have a phone number.
I've got his email address.
Okay, Carly, are you ready for information on Damien?
Yep, I am.
Mother's maiden name is he banks with
Carly, this is the girl coming in now with the blue scarf.
What's the name? Nicholas.
Nicholas. His date of birth, 7th of May. She lives at 38A.
Just be a couple of seconds.
2 children, age 4 and
This would be
3.
scary. Yeah, I was just saying they're writing it on the cups, right?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Damien, age 26 and a fitness instructor.
How do you know what that?
Brody, who goes to UCL. Martin, who went to South Thames College. Assistant psychologist at Great Ormond Street. How did you know?
That is. I don't really understand.
Huh? Pardon?
You know I'm a Christian as well.
Oh yeah, we know everything about you, Martin. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Anna from Russia.
The way she said it,
aggressive.
the British just deliver it so dry.
Yeah.
Oh, we know everything about you.
That would freak me out. And then they just walk off with a cup. I'd want to. Somebody's got to be standing around there just collecting cups that get thrown away, stealing identities.
That is a great commercial. And I tell you what, it's we're coming to the point where, you know, I don't know, man. People are just gonna have to figure out a way to be more anonymous online because, like, a lot of that information, I don't know that they actually hacked anybody there.
No.
Like when they said things like mother's maiden name or something.
Yeah.
You know, that was probably just all socially available when they liked the page.
It is unbelievable what can be found with pretty minimal information. We have a client who's a private investigator, and she does like the skip tracing and going online to find people. She can literally find out anything about anybody just with a name and like a little information about where they were or used to be.
So here's something funny. I took my second wife's last name. She was an only child, so she didn't want to change her name, and I was like, well, you know, I didn't pick mine, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And I took her name, you know, and she
That's
was like,
very, very new agey of you. You know?
I didn't think of it like that at all. I just thought, you know what, I
Didn't care.
Fair. You know, I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask for the name I got, so I can choose it now, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I did that, right? So when I started in this industry, my name was Collins, you know, so John Collins. Interestingly enough, until the 8th grade, now I'm getting into a little bio stuff, but it helps for the background.
Somebody's about to steal your identity.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm giving them all this
Right,
information.
yeah.
Up until the 8th grade, though, somehow or other, I was enrolled in school as a kaplan, who it happens to be my stepdad's name, but he never formally adopted me. So I have nothing. I have no birth certificate with that name. So I have no idea how I got through 8 grades with that name.
Yeah.
And I thought I was Jewish. So,
Okay.
you know, and so then I go into like foster care. You know, this is getting deep. I go into like foster care, and they get my birth certificate from New Jersey, and it says Collins, and I was like, who the hell's Collins, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now my name's Collins. from that point on. That's not traumatic at all.
Just changing your name as a child in foster care.
Yeah, so then I'm Collins all the way up until my second marriage, right? And I start my business, the previous business I just mentioned, and so everybody in the industry knows me as John Collins, right? Yeah. And then I just up and change my name to John Barton. Okay, fast forward several years. Now, viewers of the podcast, you know that I have admitted that I enjoy debating on Facebook. We can say it that way.
Yeah, that's a polite way to say it.
That's a polite way to say it.
Gotcha.
So one day, this guy comes out of nowhere and he accuses me of changing my name because I'm on the run from the FBI, he says. He says he has verifiable information that I'm on the run from the FBI.
It's just wild accusations.
And I was like, well, I hope the FBI doesn't have the internet because I'm on like every billiard forum there is, and I'm out easily and proud, and here I am telling you about changing my name, and then you come back with you changed your name because you're on the run.
Yeah.
I said, well,
John Barton, the worst criminal ever.
Yeah, exactly. I told him, I said, well, you better get on the phone with the FBI right now and tell them you found the guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, get your reward for snitching.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Reddit question. Yeah. Art Her Hup, I guess is the guy who posted it. As a small business, what's your biggest concern about cybersecurity? Well, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on this. Mine is a little bit less. The biggest concern that an accounting firm has is getting ransomwared. It happens a lot to accounting and tax firms. Apparently my data and the amount of information I have has a dollar amount on the black market. It's like worth so much. So people will ransomware your computers, which I guess I've never actually had it happen, but it's my understanding that they encrypt everything, and then you have to pay them in Bitcoin a certain amount of money, and then they release the information, which apparently they typically release the information.
Oh yeah, there's honor among thieves there.
Right.
They do it.
Yeah. Because I guess if you don't, then the next person won't pay, right? When they Google like, hey, I got ransomware by this group. They didn't release my stuff, so then there's no reason to get paid.
That is exactly right. As odd as it is, it's exactly right.
So the easy way to combat this is I pay $1,000 a month to an IT company who constantly runs backups on my computer. So at any time, if I get ransomware or I get hacked, they can just wipe all of our machines and then put everything back on.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate that you have to do that, but that's really the way to go.
Yeah, it's just the easiest way for me to handle it.
Now we have something similar. We have backups that happen in the cloud for us.
Yeah.
But that's probably my biggest fear.
Yeah, I try to avoid the cloud as much as possible. Keep everything here, so that way I think it's more secure. I don't know. Maybe the cloud's more secure, but I feel better having all that information on a server I can see.
I mean, I would talk to your IT people because the thing is that if they can get into your network, then they can do whatever they want to your backups too.
Oh, fair enough.
So it might be something you might want to discuss with them.
Well, they've told me that they've got everything backed up in the right way, so that if something happens, we're all good.
Perfect. Yeah, your backups are probably encrypted so that the hackers couldn't re-encrypt them.
Right.
But yeah, that's that and people getting into our accounts and into our bank accounts and stuff like that and being able to do damage.
Yeah, see, I try not to keep any credit card or account files because most of my clients pay in check or cash, or they'll bring a credit card in to pay here. So I try not to keep any banking information or stuff like that. But we do end up. I mean, we've got bank statements and credit card statements for clients that has information, so it can be dangerous.
We don't keep any of the information. As a matter of fact, if I put somebody's credit card in, and I want to go back and charge them again, I have to ask them again for their card because I can't even see their information. That's how we have it set up.
Yeah.
So you talk to people and they say, "Oh, you want us to charge your card on file?" I don't know if they can see they can probably charge it, but I don't know if they can see the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
But we can't even charge somebody's card on file.
What software are you using for that?
Well, we use we use Magento e-commerce is what we use, gotcha. And then they have what's called APIs that interface with the various credit card processors.
Yeah.
So there's nothing. All the data that goes in for a credit card when we enter a credit card, that's handled on the processor servers.
Yeah.
So we just see the surface information, whether it's good or not.
You guys have a lot of problems with bots too, don't you? I remember you came in one day just yelling about Russian bots were taking over. I had no idea what was going on.
So that's another thing, right? Is that another part of the cybersecurity that people have to watch out for is when you, especially when you do your own website. A lot of times, right? You go to one of these $29.99, do your own website type deals and stuff like that. You got to make sure that they have good security, because what happens is, if you put in something like an ordinary WordPress or something like that without any extra security, well, there's exploits there that these guys will go in, and they will be able to insert or steal information that goes through your website. They can see the traffic that's happening.
Yeah.
So if somebody does go to your website and they type in a credit card, for example, then they basically execute what's called a man-in-the-middle attack, where they're basically, the information is filtering through.
Yeah.
And so they're in the middle grabbing that information, but they don't stop it. Mm-hmm. So for the person using the website, it just looks totally normal.
Yeah.
And they're always probing. So we had a problem when I didn't make people register for the website. Mm-hmm. Then all these bots would just register. I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be 100 Russian accounts, and you could always tell what they were, the way that they were formatted.
Right.
But I would literally have to go through and manually delete all these guys. And then finally I set up a CAPTCHA. Yeah. I set up a system where you have to register and then you have to do the CAPTCHA. And it's a pain in the ass for consumers, but it protects us. It protects the consumer.
I hate those CAPTCHA things. Sometimes I have that existential crisis of whether I'm a robot or not because I can't figure it out.
Well, now you know. Nowadays, though, they do this cool thing where the CAPTCHA is really window dressing at this point, because what they do is they have figured out that the way that you move your mouse or the way you interact with the screen,
yep, I've seen that.
They can tell whether you're human or not.
Yeah, probably just little mistakes and variations. Another turtle tip on this portion of cybersecurity is just you have to be just mildly aware of what you're doing. Like, just pay a little bit of attention and you're going to be pretty safe. Well, I know so many of my clients I've had to talk to about, like, where they give me, because they'll give me like bank information or credit card logins, and it's literally password 123, and I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, you guys,
try a little.
It's a pain in the ass, but you'd be surprised how many people just use those common passwords.
Yeah, and then use the same password for everything, which is a disaster too.
And another thing that's really important that we deal with, which this isn't so much cybersecurity on our part as it is consumer behavior.
Yeah.
So a big word that, not a big word, I shouldn't say it like that, but a big topic that people should be aware of is called phishing.
Yes, so a huge one.
Phishing with a PH, all right? Mm-hmm. So I guess that's the hacker way of saying phishing. But phishing is basically social engineering, where all they're trying to do is get you to believe that there's somebody else so that you'll give up a password or you'll give up the right information to let them into the network.
Yeah, it's a disaster, and it really affects like elderly people or people who aren't aware.
Yeah.
They really get after them on that.
You'll get an email, it'll look like it's from your bank or it'll look like it's from PayPal and stuff like that. So a lot of my customers, they are getting scammed by people who impersonate us on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I've talked about that a few times, but this is happening to companies in every industry, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
So anytime there's any kind of an online forum where people are buying and selling stuff, there will be people that are cloning other people's accounts. They'll see who the popular sellers are. They'll see who the popular brands are, and they will just clone an account and make it look like I've had people even duplicate our website, and it's unfortunate. And there's not a lot I can do about it. I've tried everything that I can do within my power.
Yeah, you just
to educate people,
stay diligent, and alert your customers as best you can. But you can't be perfect on that.
Yeah. So those out there, if you guys ever hear of a class action lawsuit against these big guys about this, about allowing phishing or allowing these clone scam schemes, I'll be happy to join it.
Have you ever been a victim of cybersecurity? Like, have you got hacked before and identity theft or anything like that?
I have had situations where they've gotten a hold of a card number and they've made some charges, but our bank caught it. But I've never had a full-blown identity theft thing happen. The one that really scares me just as a person is the ones that can like somehow get the deed to your house and sell it or something.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I think, what I think is that in our world today, there's so many systems that are still kind of partially analog in that way, where people just go to a courthouse or something and file a piece of paper and suddenly you own someone's house because no one contests it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of that stuff. I always see on YouTube the little shorts of these con men and like how they did stuff. Real quick before we move to the next one, have you heard of the guy who sold the Eiffel Tower twice?
Yeah, you told me about that one.
Such a good one.
That's a good one.
Look him up, or just Google the guy who sold the Eiffel Tower twice. Greatest con man of the 1800s or whatever it was. So funny.
The best way, before we move on, the best way to think about it, I think, is this. Is for as long as there have been, there's human society, there's always a portion of humans who are thinking of clever ways to scam people.
Yep.
And the internet only makes that bigger. So you only have to be that much more careful.
Yeah. All right, next one from Capital Bogota, something like that. Programs or applications to help manage customers' information. We run a furniture shop, and he's asking kind of what is the best program for debts and payments and keeping customer information. Our office, we use a program called MyCase, which is actually for law offices. But that's where we store all the information. It's just a website, and that way it's all protected there rather than like having pins and writing down everybody's name and information. We just have it stored there.
So I would say it really depends on what your exact needs are. So it sounds like these folks are saying manage say identification, debts, and payments done. So they want something where they can track payments.
Yeah, that should just be your POS software, and it should come with a lot of great cybersecurity already because they're responsible for it.
Yeah. So you can get accounting software that does that. You can get bookkeeping software that does it.
Yeah, and then the term CRM, I think is what it is, customer
relation management.
Yeah, software. CRM software is great.
Now CRM stuff though, you can get pretty pricey. Some of it
can get wild.
There's low cost versions.
That's what ours is. My case, and it's like for 2 users or 3 users, I think now we pay like $250 a month. So it is. I mean, it's pricey. It's not great, but it really does work.
So I would say, right, to this person here, I would say if all you're doing is trying to keep track of these things, right, and you basically want a way to look it up without having to go to the back room and pull out the book, right, I would say just set up a spreadsheet on Google, give access to the people who need it in your organization, and just have entries in there. And then you can search and look it up.
I would agree with that as a short-term solution, but man, can that get wild after a while. I mean, if you're in business for 10 years, you've got a few hundred customers every, few months, you end up with a lot on that spreadsheet. So
sure.
That software.
Well, you can do it as a database too.
For sure. Yeah.
You can set it up as a database that translates into a spreadsheet.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. But the software really is worth its money once you can afford it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say just try them out,
For
and
sure.
and there's a plethora of stuff out there. And one thing that I found, there's almost no perfect software. We always come up against something where you go, gosh, I wish it could do this, or gosh, I wish it could do that. And the reason that there's no perfect software is lots of businesses just have different use cases. There's a lot of commonality, but there's also sometimes a little uniqueness to how a business does business.
Yeah.
So one thing, for example, where, you don't want to go down the route of trying to develop something if you don't really need it, but we need to do software for our business, for our design business.
Yep.
So we are currently creating a new designer, but in the process of creating the new designer, we're also overhauling the whole process.
Yeah.
So all the e-commerce software that goes with it, we're overhauling all of that to do all the things that I've always wanted to do, all the pain points.
Yeah.
But that's a big, big endeavor. So
Yeah,
most people won't need that.
Not worth it for your own, or for most businesses, but sometimes you do need it. Absolutely. Yeah. There's no harm in getting some developers to just code you something if you can do it.
Yep.
Well, any other thoughts on cybersecurity for this week, or theft in general, identity theft?
I don't have any more thoughts on identity theft other than just protect yourself. I haven't used any of the identity shields or any of those. What's the one that's on TV all the time?
Oh yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. But yeah,
LifeLock. Yeah, there's these services. They do this, and then LifeLock has I think they have $1 million guarantee or something if they but if you look at the fine print, I think
I think I get one of those through my credit card. But you know what? That's something I should probably step my game up on. Make sure I'm not getting ID theft.
Yeah, I mean it's from what I understand, it can be pretty good, but a lot of it is I don't know. It's like I've always wondered, how prevalent it really is.
Yeah.
And I haven't done any of that, so I don't know. But one thing that I did do that I find to be good, and I think it helps probably, is I signed up for a service that actively tries to scrub your name off of all of these sales lists.
Oh yeah, which one of your names? All 5 of them?
Huh?
All 5 of your names?
No, I only paid for one of my names.
John Kaplan Collins, FBI Most Wanted.
I only paid for one of my names because the other 2 names have no money attached to them, so
right,
steal away.
Yeah.
But I have found that doing that, I found that the level of scam calls has dropped considerably.
Oh, okay. I need to look into that.
Yeah, they're actually doing a pretty good job. I'll tell you the name of it. We don't get sponsored, so I'm going to tell Scott privately.
All right.
But
well, that's it for this week.
That's all I got.
Thanks for joining us. Find all of our information on turtlesmith.com and at all of our socials at Turtlesmith. Okay, and we'll see you next week, hopefully.
All right. Have a good business.
This is always annoying to ask, but if you're liking this content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way for us to get more followers and more people engaged in this great business content. You can also follow us on all socials at Turtlesmith OK and find us at turtlesmith.com.
Please like and subscribe.